So we all know in Apex Legends that contesting can be, well, a lot. It's not the easiest thing to do, and when you're stuck with randoms who you have no idea of their skill level and really no confidence in, it can go pretty differently than it would if you were one unit moving as a cohesive team. Some love it, some hate it, some search out for it, and some will try their absolute hardest to avoid any sign of it. But with that being said, as someone who's fought through thousands of them at this point, today we're going to talk about contesting and just how you can win more of your contests. Especially if you're stuck with randoms and y'all don't really have any way of communicating, because that is very common in this game.
Haha! Fuck y'all.
Now, these contests have been chosen to specifically show how the fundamentals and the right approach are some of the keys to winning them. Especially when you're not able to communicate effectively with your teammates, small steps can compound into big moves, and that's really the purpose of today's video. So with that being said, we start off with the Harvester contest, and it's not really the most combative from the beginning as we both cohabitate opposite sides of the POI, but it didn't take too long for things to pop off. And we noticed the other team was holed up in this middle area, so I immediately get in position to start trying to poke and get some entry damage in. Now the Mirage right here definitely messed up for his team, and this is one of the things that I talk about with your swings and your positioning. You see how with the angle we hold, we will be able to get clear shots at the enemy team if they try to push across the open to get to their down teammate? His issue was creating a situation where his teammates are forced to take damage crossing through the open to get to him, or take more damage trying to crawl back to his team, puts them in a worse off predicament at the end of the day. And that's ignoring the inevitably likely third option. He gets easily full killed and his teammates get swarmed because it's now with 2v3. They either have to scramble through the open, taking damage just to attempt to save his life, or they let him crawl back and hope he makes it back alive. Either way, Resin typically leaves one teammate out of action, and not too long ago, we talked about how quickly enemies are able to kill that one lone last teammate that's just trying to hold the line. One other thing I want to mention with this fight too, which is next in a long list of videos that I have on these types of topics, is right here holding angles and holding space. And this is more of a conscious decision that I made. I wanted my teammates to be able to go through this left side door and get across the bridge safely without getting one bursted and end up putting us in a bad situation. So my approach was to hold angles and zone off the areas of engagement in front of us so that they could safely move. That's why I focused on shooting the enemy on the right side, but then I realized the enemy on the inside was still shooting, so I sent a grenade in there to make him back up as well. All in all, this is one of those situations where just doing the little things at the right time made the win a lot easier. It starts with something as simple as isolating the solo, but I mean, in this case, I guess the solo kind of isolated himself. And then it boils down to stuff like holding angles, moving as a unit, and just making sure you hit your shots. And those fights are going to be a piece of cake. Now, this is one of those situations where another team decided to drop directly on our head, so I immediately got me a weapon, and yeah, I already know y'all about to be in the comments. My aim wasn't really aiming today, but that's not the point of this video. So I immediately get a gun and focus on putting damage in on the enemy team and just pressure them while my teammates are able to find the gun, so that makes the fight better for us. Eventually, Loba's health gets sent extremely low, so she's scrambling. I know she's out of the fight either way. And I don't even think she got a gun. Plus, that bamboozle let me know that they have a Mirage. So now I understand team composition and I have more information to work with. Loba gets knocked and Wraith gets put in a situation where she has little health and not really anywhere she could go without getting shot at. Now, for future reference, if you see a teammate sitting at a door and pinging it over and over again, they're probably in a situation like this. So if you can safely get to the other side of the door and end up pincing the enemy team player, please do so. That makes stuff like this a lot easier.
Drop down right here. Somebody.
Now, honestly, what may be contrary to popular belief, I feel like when you have a team in a situation like this where they're scrambling, trying to get away and maybe get banners, you should regroup first before you end up going to hawk one of them down. Because one of the quickest ways for a tide to be turned in a situation like this is for your teammate to go running off and lose their 1v1 and end up throwing the entire game for all of y'all. You might have the most supercalifragilisticexpialidocious skills in this game, and if you feel like that's the case, then go ahead, hawk them down. But please win your one when you catch up with them, or at the very least, don't get baited and trapped and caught in a bad situation where you end up having your health bar look like this. Now, ironically, this next contest is going to play into what I was just talking about a little bit, and in a few seconds, you're going to see what I mean. Now, this is one of those fights that dealt a lot with holding position and poking and just trying to do entry damage. And it kind of boils down to a concept I've talked about in a video in the past, but I want to break it down in a different way to make it a little bit easier for people to understand possibly. So I talk a lot about doing the right moves at the right times and just doing little things that compound into big wins. And one of those things is knowing when to push and when to put pressure on an enemy team. It's something that I called the push and pull flow states a while ago, but at this point, we might as well think of it more in terms of putting pressure on the team and using momentum. We had information on this team, and my caustic teammate was already putting pressure on them, and I assume getting entry damage. And this right here is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Contrary to popular belief, you can still get isolated as a solo while you're standing almost right next to your team, as that Bangalore just did. We've all seen it, get caught in the wrong corner of a door, get caught through a window. If you get caught out at a bad angle, that can put your entire team at a risk and make it a lot easier for another team to pressure you and move in to end up cleaning up. That Bangalore put his team in a position where they didn't really get too much entry damage on us, and with him going down, it was just a matter of keeping the pressure on until we were able to catch up to the enemy team and kill all of them.
Test somebody else. Fuck. I think I hear it.
Once again, nothing flashy, it's just the right moves at the right time. One teammate got a knock and we all just immediately moved forward and swarmed them to keep them from one, getting the Bangalore back up or having the opportunity to do so, but two, keep them from having the opportunity to regroup and get back together and possibly bait one of us into a position where they could turn it into a 2v2. Because one gun firing on you on this game can already be bad enough. A lot of times you get 2 or even 3 guns firing on you, and especially with the way bullets slow your movement, you're probably done, son. Now this one right here is one of my hero contest per se, and it starts out as usual. I'm not necessarily in the best space right here. I'm not a fan of playing low ground, so I'm trying to zone and just get some entry damage, but at the same time keep them from shooting me while I move to a good position. They decide to start doing the exact same strategy, and after a thermite grenade hits me and clips my teammate, it is now no bueno.
Bro.
Luckily, Fuse was able to cover me enough for me to back out and heal, and he was also able to trade off and knock somebody on the enemy team, so now it ends up being a 2v2. That didn't last for too long though, and I took advantage of this Bloodhound not being able to realize that I was coming up behind them, which is pretty ironic now that I think about it. I'm not a fan of the RE since I feel like it swings so much more than every other gun, but I was able to get that kill, and I backed up enough to be able to get the shield battery off. Now, when you're healing, you want to give yourself the most space between you and your enemy as possible to give yourself the optimal opportunity to be able to heal as much of your health as you can. If I had stayed in the area where I killed the Bloodhound and just ducked behind the wall and tried to heal there, he would have instantly came around that corner and clipped me, and it would have been a wrap. Me sliding off and getting this shield battery or shield cell or whichever I chose to use and moving behind this pillar, as you can see, gave me just enough opportunity to get it off and have more health for this fight. And as you'll see at the end, that shield battery is the only reason I was able to end up clutching this and we didn't get sent back to the lobby. This right here is also why I tell my Watson players, use your fences in your fights. As you can see, that fence didn't deter him from being able to come around that corner, but he ended up strafing back into the fence, and that not only did more damage to him, but it disabled and stunned his ability to be able to move his camera as quickly as he was able to before. And the game is dynamic and as varied as Apex Legends with the wealth of character abilities that the game has to offer. Not using them as often as you can in efficient ways to help you win these fights is really just a drawback that you're causing for yourself. Now this right here is one of my favorite places to land, but one of my least favorite places to fight another team, because there's just so many different opportunities for just one thing to go wrong and it end up completely costing your game. Like for instance, this area that I'm in right here, if someone is out here and they end up getting clipped, there's multiple different areas where a team could pinch you and put you in a bad spot. Not to mention with it being outside and the potential of enemy teams to shoot at you from football fields away. So I was focused on trying to do some entry damage to slow down their approach, but I didn't really do too good of a job at it. Luckily, this team decided to all push 1v1, and this is one of the things that you don't need to do in this game. If y'all are together, stick with each other. If y'all are about to move into an area, go through a door, go up somewhere with your whole team, stick with each other. Because one of the easiest ways I see people die on this game is miscommunications and someone thinks that a teammate is doing something that they aren't, and it ends up costing them in the end. So yeah, if y'all are about to push and put pressure on someone and be aggressive, make sure you're all sticking to that game plan and nobody is ending up getting stage fright at the end, because it's a video game, bro. You just go back to the lobby and you get a new life. And last but not least, this one is a little bit more of a post contest, if anything. But just another thing that goes to show numbers don't necessarily matter if you play this game right. So we landed contested among a few different teams. Our teammate died and we got chased out the swamps. But the other team, they weren't really too keen on letting us get away. So I knew I was preparing for a tricky situation. And what's one of the best guns for a tricky situation? A Havoc. And I was ready to cause some havoc. Now, a lot of times in this game, when people put you in positions where they feel like you're in a bad spot, they get hype, and it really limits their critical thinking, which is what you're about to see here. And these situations go into what I was talking about earlier about being careful pushing enemy teams by yourself, because then this could happen. I know it's pretty much a matter of time before one of them runs up hype trying to end up getting close to me, so I did what was probably the best thing to do in this situation. Bait him, opening the door, get him to run up, and then... So with isolating and solo, we've now turned a 3v2 into a 2v2
I love getting people with that.
into a 2v1 in about less than 10 seconds. In situations like this, y'all definitely want to get that full kill too. Don't even give him the opportunity to try to go for a res. And the Octane ran up by itself. It just wasn't going to be a good situation for him. But this goes into both isolating the solo and time to kill. Both of those played very important parts into how we were able to get this team out of here so fast. Not only did we bait them into bad situations and use them not sticking with each other against them, but we were able to very quickly eliminate them and reposition. One of the things you don't want to do in this game is stay in the same spot after you kill somebody, because not only does the enemy team have pings and silhouettes and all of that through the wall that they can see where their teammate just died and know where you are, but considering they have gunshots, they have the tracker in the top right of the screen that shows their teammate being dropped, and they have their teammate's icon to show where they just died, there's a good chance they're getting ready to bum rush over to that area. And if it's a couple of them and you still trying to go in the loot box, which is what all my teammates seem to get caught doing, you're done, son. I said it earlier, it's not going to end well for you. So that was episode 1 of Art of the Contest. I plan on making this an actual series, and I know I've said that about stuff on this channel before, but I'll actually be sticking to that this time as long as I continue making videos. But I think making smaller niche videos about a lot of the different aspects that go into the fights and the rotations and things like that in this game may honestly be the best lane for me. I enjoy breaking down smaller, more nuanced topics into overarching things that can be explained in ways that you may not have thought of before. And I'm actually getting back into the habit of playing the game again, so I have things to talk about again. So yeah, be on the lookout for the Art of the Contest episode 2, as well as some other videos that I got planned for y'all soon. Take care.